I was just like, oh, why aren't the anime as good as the anime that
They're not for you.
right? They're like, yeah, maybe this shit's for someone else. So I was scrolling through Reddit one day and I found that there was a lot of discourse talking about whether the old generation of the big three and the new generation of the big three were like more influential as far as like old. I mean, otaku is a word, but it wasn't the word I was thinking.
Wasn't the one I wanted.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Also, we've got Shi Okami on the channel. Say hello.
Oh shit, we're going. Hi.
What we're going to be discussing today is whether or not the old big three. What we're going to be discussing is whether or not the old big three is more or less influential than the new big three. Wow, why was that so fucking hard to say? All right, so I'm going to pass this question off to you, Shi Okami. In your personal opinion, do you think that the old big three, that being One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach, has a bigger impact on anime society as a whole, or do you think that the new generation of the big three, being My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, and Demon Slayer?
Right. So I'm definitely going to say the old big three has a bigger impact on the anime community as a whole, just because these particular animes started becoming more mainstream in America. And that's kind of what sparked all of this, oh my god, holy shit, anime's real? Oh,
Right.
Like,
And
the US started getting anime probably late 90s, early 2000s, which is kind of when the old big three started coming around. Was like, hey, ninjas. Everybody loves the ninja. Like, who doesn't fucking love ninjas, right? And then you sit down and all of a sudden you're like 500 episodes into Naruto.
honestly, and one thing I want to clarify is that these big three anime, they are by no means the three best anime of all time. Because
Right.
even in the older generation, when we talk about Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, there's dozens of anime that we can list that are objectively better than the three of those. But it's about the cultural impact that those anime have had over the course of, the years to come and the anime to come. Because like each new anime that comes out always pays some kind of homage to One Piece, Bleach, or Naruto in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And of course, a lot of people, they don't like the fact that, oh, the big three, they're so stupid, they're way too long, they have too many fillers and blah, 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 blah. And it's like cultural impact, because me personally, if we're talking about the best anime that's ever been made, I know people are probably going to slander me for this, but Full Metal Alchemist is like one of the 10 out of 10 anime that I myself have ever come in contact with.
No one's gonna slam dunk on you for saying Full Metal Alchemist is the best anime. If they do, they're wrong.
Facts, because literally it gives you 50 solid episodes of straight action. It's got the action, the fight scenes, it's got the romance, the drama, the tension, and most importantly, it ends. It starts and it ends. It doesn't leave you on a cliffhanger.
There's a last episode.
Honestly, because that's one thing that a lot of these anime do nowadays, is that they'll start and then they'll have an ending, but they won't end, and there's a difference.
Right.
FMA, it ends and like it's a conclusion ending. Like it doesn't leave you with any unanswered questions. It doesn't leave you wanting a second season. It completes itself. And that's something that just doesn't happen. And then we're going to talk about the new generation of the big three. I know people are going to be like, oh, what about Black Clover? What about Jujutsu Kaisen? I'm like, we're not talking about better anime, whether something is good or bad. We're just talking about the cultural impact, because that's what solidifies the big three. And of course, when it comes to Attack on Titan, like, first of all, the only reason why it got as big as it did is because it took a concept that no other anime has really done before. Because, we've all seen, like, not so much ninjas, but like ninja abilities, like, you know, jutsu, chakra, energy levels, you know, that whole thing you could talk about. But then you take Attack on Titan, and I mean, technically it's a mecha anime because there's a person that's piloting this big giant thing. It might not be made of metal, but they're still piloting this suit, so to speak, and they control it, and you know, it do things for them, and they can hop in and out of it. I mean, there's a little bit more layers that go into it, but if you would have to put Attack on Titan into a classification, it would be a mecha anime. It's probably the pacing that put Attack on Titan in like one of the top spots, because it's not like, let's say, again, not trying to slander, but it's not like Hunter x Hunter, where you have to get through the first couple of episodes before shit actually starts hitting the fan. Like, from the very first episode, right? From the very first episode, you got the Colossal Titan just standing behind the wall, and he's like, shit's about to get crazy. Like, first episode, like first minute in, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? And then rocks are flying, people are getting killed. Like, it's a riot. Between the three of them, I think Demon Slayer has honestly had probably one of the most, definitely be Demon Slayer that's had the biggest impact, because one thing that they've done, especially with their anime and their movies, is that they've set a new standard for like how good an anime can look. Because, you know, oftentimes it's just, you know, you draw the art, you animate the scenes, and then, you know, that's the end of it. But when it comes to Demon Slayer, like, those visuals are next level.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Demon Slayer becoming such a mainstream, like, anime so quickly, is because it had such a large global impact, and it happened, not to be dramatic, but probably literally overnight.
Honestly. Especially with when Mugen Train came out.
Mm-hmm. You have to think about it on a global production aspect. Is this getting views all around the world? And if the answer is yes, then that's why it's on the big three.
Right? Because, like I say, it's all about the impact. Like, you have to put your feelings aside, because some people, like, they hate Demon Slayer. They're like, oh, Tanjiro, he's a crybaby. I'm like, he's 13 years old. He watched his family get murdered. Like, literally anybody.
Literally on the brink of death almost every day.
Honestly, I'm like, you're so used to these anime characters just being soulless and just taking everything in, just being absolute, right? Just these OP badasses 24/7. And it's like, this one actually hits home because it actually shows a child with child emotions.
And that's not to say that the plot of Demon Slayer is anything extravagant, because we've seen it. We've seen this plot before, you know. Tragedy, all by himself, poor thing, has to learn how to survive to beat the big baddie to avenge his loved ones. Like, that's been done. No big deal, whatever.
Right.
It's the way that it's presented that makes it good.
And like, it's, I mean, the budget is just through the damn roof. And I know this is a little off topic, but I know a lot of people, they were trying to give, I forget the name of the production company, but they were trying to slander them because they're like, oh, you mean to tell me that Mugen Train grossed $500 million and they didn't split those profits among the dev team? And they're like, well, to be fair, they didn't know Mugen Train was going to get as big as it did. That's why all of their animators are contracted. So it's like, you know, regardless of what revenue the movie pulls, these animators have already been paid for it. That way, you know, whether it was a complete bomb or you know, a global success, like, at least they made their money off of it, because it could have bombed. Nobody could have, you know, watched it. They didn't know what was going to happen during the shutdown, releasing a movie that was only like a digital stream, and then boom, it's the #1 grossing anime movie of all time, dethroned Spirited Away. I'm like, that's...
Yeah, it's more so a safety feature, so if it's not, you know, the raving success of the year, you know, people can still feed their families, which is great. Right.
And like the dev teams and stuff, they were like, I mean, what they do from this point on is up to them, because they're like, yeah, they were contracted before the movie came out and they've already been paid for that, but they can take that clout and be like, hey, I'm one of the lead animators that, animated Mugen Train. So if you got some work for me, then
my Patreon,
all right. They're like, they are free to promote themselves as much as they need to. And that's something that a lot of companies won't let you do, because they're like, hey, you're working for us, so you can't just, go around the world and, be doing what you want when you want to. You work for us, so you're going to do things for us. So I'm like, I think that's a pretty fair trade-off. Not saying that like, oh, y'all had $500 million. You could have gave at least one of those millions to each of your, your animators. I'm like, yeah, they could have, but, again, they didn't know that it was going to be as big as it was. So, I mean, yeah, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? And then let's talk about my hero. My least favorite of the big three.
He said that bullshit.
Right? And like, because, we've already explained like why all of the other big three have had their, like the reason why they got that spot. I mean, One Piece, I couldn't get into One Piece, but the One Piece fans, like, they are absolutely diehard for it. And it's just, I guess it's just like the name One Piece has just transcended time. So like it's, I couldn't get into One Piece, but I'm not knocking the people that love it.
Me neither. I was like, my dad watches One Piece. I'm like, dude, how can you sit here and watch this?
And they're like, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And I'm like, I must have got a different gift.
Yeah.
Because I think I watched at least 20 episodes of One Piece before I'm like, okay, whatever. Because, like I say, for me and my personal anime taste, like, pacing is everything. That's why my top favorites, like Attack on Titan, Death Note, Soul Eater, those are all anime that waste no time getting it started.
Right.
Because I'm like, if it takes 10 episodes or more to get the ball rolling and get you interested, I'm like, that's 10 episodes of your time wasted that they could have just started with episode 1. Like, why would you even do that?
Yeah. So I call it like a grace period. It's like, so if an anime starts out slow, how long am I willing to give this before I drop it if it doesn't get interesting? That grace period is typically between 3 episodes, 2 if it's really fucking boring, but I like to give it a 3 episode minimum.
Honestly, yeah, that's like with my my So I Watched series. I'm like, I'll take an anime recommendation, I'll watch the first 3 episodes, and then I'll give my first impressions. I like an anime that the first episode, shit hits the fan, and then on the second episode, that's when they stop and explain what's going on. I'm like, don't start explaining shit before you've showed me what you're explaining. Like, I want to know before you be like, oh, this is a story about vampires. It's like, show me the fucking vampires first.
Yeah, give me the vampires.
Honestly.
Why are you waiting?
But yeah, when it comes to my hero, I'm just like, it's like I don't have a whole lot to say. And like, I was watching My Hero and I actually liked it. Emphasis on liked, past tense. I mean, we're not gonna talk about Deku because I got a whole video set aside for Deku. Like, there's some shit I got to say about this boy.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, there's so many interesting characters. There's so many characters that can have potential in My Hero, but they make them so bland. Like, if it's an episode about fucking Frog Girl, I don't want to watch an episode about Frog Girl. Like, is Frog Girl cool? Yeah, she's fucking adorable. I don't need her fucking tragic backstory. I'm not interested.
Right, it's like, oh, about how her fucking family ran out of flies to eat or some shit. Like, I don't care.
And that's a problem with, I think, not just My Hero, but animes that try and implement so many characters at a single time. Because it's like, yes, I'm interested in the main character's story. Am I interested in the main character? No. But I'm not interested in any of these other motherfuckers either.
Honestly, and that's another thing that Naruto did so well. Like, yes, the show is about Naruto, but it kind of pieces together all those other characters like Sasuke and Sakura, and then like all of the other clans that exist in Naruto. It kind of introduces them bit by bit while still keeping Naruto at the center. It doesn't, take away from the main character like Tokyo Ghoul did for some fucking reason. Like in season 2 of Tokyo Ghoul, like they completely bench Kaneki and then they just start giving main emphasis to like these side characters, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you have a main character. Where are they? It's been like 3 episodes and their face hasn't been shown once. What the fuck is he doing? And why are you not showing us what he's doing? He's the main character. Don't just have him walk off and be like, oh, while he's over there, I'm gonna show you these motherfuckers. Like, fuck those guys. Where is he? But yeah, My Hero, I would say that My Hero could be swapped out for something else, but like we say, it's not so much about what is better or worse, but what has had a better cultural impact. And nowadays, JoJo would probably be a better pick. Because JoJo, it's become like just infamous. Like there's JoJo is getting to be about like One Piece in terms of reach. Because like even if you haven't watched JoJo, I can almost guarantee you know right? Like but I guess
I haven't seen it, but you heard of it.
All right. But then again, I guess popularity doesn't determine it either, because if that was the case, then Dragon Ball would be one of the big 3. And it's not, so suck it, fucking Goku fans.
It's not one of the big 3 of this generation. I'd say late 80s, early 90s was when Dragon Ball was.
Oh yeah, because like the first gen big 3 would have been Dragon Ball, Rurouni Kenshin, and Yu Yu Hakusho. Like that was like the foundation of shonen anime for all time. Like if it weren't for those 3, and of course like Sailor Moon is the queen of all anime. Like that's where it all started.
Yeah, she'll beat up Goku.
Honestly, like you can't mess with the Sailor Scouts. Like absolutely not. But yeah, circling back to the original point, which one has the bigger impact today? Well, which one do you think? The old generation or the new generation? Now that we've, had this whole big discussion about it.
I mean, I see, because that obviously depends on who you're asking. Because if you're asking, older individuals like my dad, who's been watching anime ever since he was like 10 or 11 or something.
Right.
He is of course going to pick something from his generation of viewership that's like, oh my god, yeah. And typically people do that because it's nostalgic for them. They remember when anime was exciting. They remember when it was fun. And even now, I'm 24, and when a new anime comes out, and I'm like, holy shit, a new anime? And then it's like the same shit I've seen for 12 years.
Yeah. I get that. That is another thing that happens way too often, is that instead of these anime trying to, take a different turn on a classic, like Castlevania, for example. We've seen the vampire story countless times, going across literally all walks of life. We've seen it in live action, we've seen it in movies, anime, cartoons, we've seen it all. But they still take a classic formula and turn it into something of their own, versus just, taking an old concept and then just washing it and then reusing it. It's like, it's okay to take something that's classic, like, superheroes, for example, but make it your own thing. And not trying to slander My Hero.
Just do it.
Because, like, they had a good concept. And, like, Hero Killer Stain, whenever he was introduced, he's like, I fucking hate the new generation of heroes. You guys only do it for clout and for money. There's no good heroes that are just doing good things out of the sheer kindness of your heart, except All Might. All of you motherfuckers are fake. You need to all retire or die, except for All Might. He's a real hero.
All Might the king.
Honestly. And I'm like, that's a good argument. Like, fuck all, one for all for one. the guy with no face that has like a million quirks.
Yeah.
Fuck him. Stain should have been the main villain because he had the fucking ideology that made sense, and everybody else, they're just like,
a good villain.
Right, yeah. Why don't we let the good villains succeed? Stop dropping.
Why can't the good villains stay?
Right, stop dropping the ball for these fucking lackluster ass guys who has enough power to split a fucking planet in half. I'm like, this guy, he had a simple quirk. If he tasted your blood, it would paralyze you for like a couple minutes or whatever, and then he would fucking stab you through the fucking face, and then you'd be dead. Like, and he took that simple ass fucking quirk, and he's like, bro, I can get rid of all the fucking fake ass heroes, and he was doing good shit, but Deku has to come along and fuck that up. That's another thing that I hate.
The cliche, good guys always win, so it's
right?
boring.
Show me an anime where the good guys just like, they have this epic battle and they fucking lose. Like, the end of the anime, the good guys lose. The bad guy wins, he destroys everything, he's on top, and then it ends. Give it to me.
And that's another thing about following a formula like that, is because it makes the anime predictable.
Super predictable.
I want to be excited. I don't want to see Lil Deku crying on the floor and then in my head go, yep, he's going to stand up and he's going to punch this bitch and he's going to win. And then that's exactly what happens.
Honestly, like, I just want for once to us to expect plot armor and it not happen. Like, we're like, oh, he's the main character, he's not gonna die, and then he just gets fucking cut in half, and then he just dies, has a funeral, everything, and he's just gone, and they're like that happened.
Yeah, I've done that to my boyfriend before. When we're watching anime, I'll go, now watch, this exact thing is gonna happen. And when it happens, he goes, did you already watch this?
He's like, no, like, I've been here before.
We've all seen this.
Right? It's like, he's the main character. Like, he's gonna fucking scream a little bit, gonna get a new power, and then he's gonna win this fight. I promise you. Oh, man. But yeah, me personally, I honestly think that nowadays the newer generation are influencing newer generations.
Yes.
Like, the inspiration isn't really going back as far as, you know, Naruto or Dragon Ball or anything like that. It's like they're stopping sort of at the more recent stuff and then just kind of rinsing and repeating those concepts and then pushing it further, which is why, like, a lot of these anime stories, they're starting to get a lot more complicated instead of just, you know, taking a simple concept like ninjas and Naruto and then elaborating on that. They got like all these fucking layers, like, oh, I guess we can go back to My Hero.
Sure. You just want to talk about My Hero?
Like, just the My Hero slander. I've got to get this off my chest.
I gotta let it out. It's too much.
But yeah, like, yeah, they take something as simple as quirks, but then those quirks manifest and multiply as generations go on. So it's like, it just gets more and more convoluted versus something like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it's like, you've got one of 4 choices and that's it. What you do with that is up to you. Like, you can get stronger and like bend more things within your power, but when you start, it's not like, oh, my dad could breathe fire and my mother could fucking bend metal, so now I can bend hot metal inside people's bodies. Like, what the fuck? I can spit fucking hot nails at people or something, like some crazy shit like that. Like, just
spit these straight facts.
Honestly. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see like what the next 10 years of anime is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, of course, newer generation anime is going to influence the new generation of viewers. And this is where I think,
yeah, I didn't think about that.
So, like, for example, my niece, she's 11. She also likes anime. She loves Demon Slayer. She loves My Hero. But then when I go, hey, check out this shit when I was a kid, she goes, oh my god, that's cool.
Right?
It's a part of our responsibility as older viewers to introduce the newer generation to all of these things that they could be missing.
That's a good perspective. Yeah, I didn't think of it as like, of course, you know, when I was a kid, these anime were, you know, trying to grab my attention as a kid of that generation. And they know that the kids of this generation are, you know, they were raised different, they were around different things, and, you know, they're living in a different time. So, of course, they're going to create shows to kind of, I was just like, oh, why aren't the anime as good as the anime that,
They're not for you.
right? They're like, yeah, maybe this shit's for someone else. You don't have to like everything, and that's okay. It's okay to not like something. It doesn't mean it's bad, it just means that it's not for you. And I think that's a good spot to stop. We pretty much we did that. We touched up on a lot of things. We kind of went full circle. That was good. That's
the cap.
Oh man. But also, before I close this, I just want to let you guys know that we're doing another video on her channel. I don't know if I'm gonna put a sneak peek of that here, but we'll figure that out at some point. But yeah, I'll have links down there in the dibbly below to that video, so definitely watch that one now that this one is pretty much over. And there'll also be, you know, links to all of her social medias and all that stuff. Yeah, you know, it's all down in the dibbly below. But as always. Death and coffin death. But as always, my name is Zabu. Not Zabu the Circle. Don't fucking say that. I'm not a circle. Along with Shi Okami, and we're out of here.
Bye.